It's my pleasure to introduce our eminent alumnus. So, Mr. Dileep Mangsuli. He was once a student here who is now leading at a global level for Siemens. He's the Senior Vice President for the Global Access to Care Group at Siemens Healthineers. We welcome you, sir, to the Leadership Lecture Series. He's come all the way from Bangalore. I think he got up at 4 and he's driven all the way to talk to all of you all. He has over 35 years of experience. He's been a transformative force in healthcare. So if you all want to pursue a career in healthcare, you can ask questions, and he's assured us that he'll be able to answer all your questions. So he's been a transformative force in healthcare innovation, leading global engineering teams across India, in the US, Europe, and China. In his current role, he drives technological solutions to extend healthcare access to underserved regions worldwide. Prior to this, he led the Siemens Healthineers Development Center in India and Slovenia. Mr. Dileep's passion for technology, innovation, and customer impact is evident through his contributions, including 3 US patents. So please talk to us about those 3 patents. His career also includes key leadership roles at Wipro, GE Healthcare, GE Industrial Solutions, where he delivered groundbreaking solutions. He's managed P&L responsibilities as well. Mr. Dileep brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to our leadership lecture series. His insights and perspectives on healthcare industry will undoubtedly inspire and enlighten all of us this evening. Thank you. So we welcome you.
Sometimes I like to walk a bit. First of all, good evening. How is everyone feeling? Good? Tiring day? You know, before coming to this talk, my wife wanted me to come in this dress. I said, I'm going to IIT. I'm going to IIT. I think this is going to be my dress. And actually, when I walked in today afternoon after driving from Bangalore, all the memories of IIT were flooding back. And I felt it was just yesterday that I was walking around and going in cycle from classroom to classroom. And I was asking, whether the Saturday movies are still on. And for us, during the time when I was a student, Saturday movies were a big, big hit. Because we didn't have a handheld device to watch any movie we want to watch. It was the movie that we were waiting for on a Saturday. And it used to be real fun. How many of you are from mechanical engineering here? Okay, do you know Chandramouli, Professor Chandramouli? He was my classmate and hostel mate as well. And I just met him before entering. It was a great reminiscence of times we spent together, inter-hostel cricket matches, and I was a fast bowler, and we had another fast bowler called Raghu. He used to be like Bumrah. No one could really see the ball going past you. I was a little slower than him, but I used to get wickets because they could never attack him and they tried to attack me. I was accurate. I used to get a lot of wickets. But it was fun times, the night cricket matches. A wonderful time in IIT, and some of the professors who shaped my career and life, I would say. There was a professor called Lakshmi Narayana, who was a known, eminent professor of mechanisms. And that got me interested in mechanisms. How do you understand mechanism? How do you design mechanisms? And I became so passionate about it. I decided to work in that field and I joined Crompton Greaves. It was my luck that I joined that company, which was going through really bad time, where the products were not doing well. And I was given a department where products were terrible. And the joke used to be that with every product, you need to send one service engineer free. And that was the joke. And I got lucky to be in that department because where there is a problem, there is an opportunity. And I got an opportunity to redesign and come up with a new product completely. And that, I put a big thank you to IIT Madras, because it was Professor Lakshmi Narayana who gave me that confidence of designing and taking a bold step and not be worried about failures. And through that, I got known as a technologist, which helped me get into GE. And I spent 25 years with General Electric Company. During the time when GE was one of the biggest companies which was actually transforming technologies worldwide in different fields. And I became part of that company, and I had a chance to really work on technology areas, new product development. I had a chance to develop products globally at a global level, leading teams across the world, where we could really launch products every year, multiple products. And that gave a tremendous experience with General Electric. And it also gave me opportunity to learn and move from field to field, from energy to power to healthcare. And healthcare is where I it stuck to me as a area of technology, area of impact, area of passion, where I started feeling I belong here. I grew up in a hospital environment as a kid. My father worked in a hospital. We lived in a hospital compound. And I used to walk through the hospital. It was a big charitable hospital. And I used to see a lot of, technologies around healthcare, but I never really understand as a kid at that time. But when I started working with GE Healthcare, it really stuck to me. And then started a lot of, possibilities. And today what I want to really talk about is how India is transforming. It's not just about healthcare. It's about India's role is changing. How India can become a leading change creator for healthcare. And healthcare is a field, as all of you know, is something not everyone thinks as exciting thing to really go and work on. How many of you really feel that healthcare can be exciting? Well, I'm happy that there are definitely 30% people feeling. How many people? Finance is exciting. Finance or automotive, AI, right? Fantastic. So if you look at it, healthcare, many people think that it's a device, right? It's something you have a CT scan, MRI, whatever. And, you just work on those devices, and that's what healthcare is about. Or you have a drug creation, formula creation. And what is exciting about healthcare? And this is where, so much is changing. And I think it was the year 2020 when things started really changing drastically for healthcare. All of you have come through that time of 2020 when we never knew that next month we'll be there or not, right? We were all worried. When is COVID going to hit us, and are we going to make it? And we all made it. Thanks to a lot of medical innovations, digital innovations, technology innovations that really made us possible to stay today and talk to each other. But that I call it as a point of change, biggest point of change for healthcare, especially on digital side. And here is where India's role I will talk about a little bit as we go through the... So I work for Siemens Healthcare, right? Siemens, as all of you probably know, is one of the pioneers of healthcare. And Siemens was one of the first companies to come to India and start manufacturing in the year 1962. Even before anyone talked about Make in India, Siemens was making things in India. And Siemens has a very big development center in Bangalore, where we have nearly 4,000 people who are working on technologies which are going to really make a transformative changes in healthcare for all of the world. So Siemens has made a huge impact, and we are also investing over 200 million euros to build a new innovation hub in Bangalore, which will be focused on healthcare innovations. Now, I want to bring about this page. Think about this. Non-communicable disease. I'm not talking about COVID, okay? How is the deaths occurring globally? If you look at it, this is going from 2000 to now 2019. Most of the deaths are because of these diseases. And these are really creating a huge challenge globally. I'll tell you an example of two of my friends. A friend of mine who is a brigadier, who works in army in Hyderabad, is a great golfer. I'm a golfer. He's a very fit person. And about 6 months back, he had an episode where he was feeling a little uneasy. He felt there was something not going right about his body. And he didn't know what it was. Since he was in army, he immediately rushed himself to a hospital, army hospital. When they were checking, they saw he was having a massive heart attack. And they took him and immediately did the placement of stent and gave him a right treatment. And within the next 2 months, he recovered fully and he was golfing again. There was another friend of mine, a childhood friend, who was in a village near my hometown in Belgaum district. And early morning, he felt uneasy, but he didn't know what it was. He just slept without really talking about it. And morning, he was not there. Now, you think about it. I think it begs a question about where you live should not decide if you live. This is a huge challenge. Depending on where you are living, if you are living near a hospital or you are living near a city where there is a tertiary care hospital, a lot can happen. You can get immediate help and you can really recover and survive. But look at the country where in villages there is absolutely no support available. How do you really bring healthcare to them? And that has become a huge challenge globally. In 1972, there was a global healthcare summit that happened at Alma-Ata. And whole world came together, including the government representative, non-government organizations, UN, UNICEF, everyone. And everyone said by year 2000, we'll make healthcare accessible to everyone in the world. And this was a commitment made by everyone. And 2020, we saw how was the excess. Excess was nowhere there, right? And that has become a huge challenge for more than 3 billion people globally. And my role is to look at innovations that can actually bring healthcare to those 3 billion people. What can we do different? I'll give you an example of TB. How many of you think TB is really a challenge today? May not, right? Many of you may not even think about it. In 60s, TB used to be considered as the villain of Hindi movies. In Hindi movies, if a hero has to die, he has to die with TB. Now that has been replaced by cancer now, right? Cancer or a heart attack or a brain tumor. These have become the new villains in Hindi movies. But in 60s, it used to be TB. But one of the challenges that today world is facing, there are 11 million TB patients worldwide, and 25% of those patients are in India. And the most number of deaths that occur today are also because of TB, not COVID. And no one realizes that. And United Nations has put a new target that by 2030, we will eliminate TB across the world by doing humongous efforts to do that. And they are putting in money to the tune of nearly $6 billion to screen, treat, and get TB eliminated across the world. So that is a kind of challenge that is being faced by the world today. Now, if you look at just a couple of examples, I won't read the slide here. The number of technologies available or equipment available in many of the countries doesn't even suffice to a few people. Last week I was in Kazakhstan and I visited 2 hospitals. There's one hospital which was for the ultra-rich people. There was a hospital which had 12 beds, okay? 12 beds, and it was ultra-rich hospital which could treat people who have everything. And there were hardly any patients. And we went to another public hospital which treats over 60,000 patients every year, cancer patients, and it was packed with people. And we were talking to the hospital authorities, and they were saying the challenge for them is how do you read the radiology reports? How do you read reports coming out of blood test? And there are not enough experts available. You think this is a challenge with developing countries, right? But you are wrong. It is a problem with even developed countries. You know how much time does it take for a hospital in UK, public hospitals in UK, to prepare a report on your CT scan? Let's say you go today, get a CT scan done. First of all, to get a CT scan done, you have to come in a queue, and that queue could be months. And once your CT scan is done, to have a report of that will take anywhere between 60 to 90 days. Imagine, if there is a patient who is having a 4th-stage cancer and his CT scan is taken, after 60 to 90 days, he may not even be surviving. And they're struggling today because there are not enough people available. And those are becoming a huge challenge globally. And how do we really fight these things? How do we really work on these technology issues as well as social issues? Now, look at it, staff shortage. This is what I was talking about. The expected number of shortage of personnel who know radiology, who know clinical details is nearly 10 million people by the year 2030. Globally, there will be 10 million people shortage. Even though we are churning out so many people, this is going to really create even a huge problem. And that's going to be a biggest challenge the world will face in treating the patients. And the chronic disease burden is growing up. And demographic shift, I think this is another thing you need to really think about it. Why technology and why India will make a difference. The number of people, there's a good news. The good news is the average lifespan of human race is going up. In India, our lifespan has gone to nearly 74 years now. And it's going up every year. We are getting better in our lifespan. Japan has highest lifespan, but it brings its own problem of geriatric population who need to be taken care of. Now imagine, how will you take care of people who cannot be put in a hospital because there is shortage of hospital? How will you take care of these people without technology help? I was talking to one of the healthcare leader in India, and he was talking about the challenges of neonatal babies who die prematurely in many of the small towns in the country. And they are using technology with a remote management of babies with a hub and spoke model, where hub is in Bangalore and spokes are in small towns. And remote babies are monitored with the cameras. And people who do not have expertise get support from experts in Bangalore. And that way, he was talking about he has saved so far 358 babies. It's a challenge. And there's another challenge, there's a very I won't take the name of the doctor, but he's one of the most famous doctors in the country. And I was having a conversation with him when one of our global leaders had come. And he was talking about the challenges the hospitals face. And he was telling that, look, I have these, he took us to ICU. And ICU, it was like, you go in there, your knees become weak. You start feeling really weak, looking at all the patients who are suffering. And he said, all our nurses try to give the best treatment because they're next to the patient. They're trying to really take a right kind of a data from every patient and make sure they are treated well. And he said there's a very interesting data in all the hospitals, if you look at. He said the hospitals have a very interesting data which shows that the most deaths, statistically, most deaths in hospital happen at 5 a.m. 5 a.m. in the morning, most deaths are happening, according to the data. Now he said, it is not that the patients die at 5 a.m., but patients are reported dead at 5 a.m. There's a difference. He said the challenge is all our nurses are supposed to get the vital statistics of every patient every hour. So you go to a patient and take his blood pressure, blood sugar test, and all those tests. You wake up the patient. And when you wake up the patient gets cranky. Because first is not well. You know, you have seen all the patients, they try to take out anything. You put the tubes, they try to pull out the tubes, pull out the, anything, right? They don't like to be in hospital and they get irritated. So nurses after about 11 o'clock stop going to the patient and they write whatever was the 11 o'clock reported data, they repeat it till 5 o'clock. And at 5 o'clock, it's a time when the patient wakes up. They go there, and many times they find the patient already gone. And he said that is the reason the patients are reported dead at 5. Now he said, we need to change that. We need to change that with technology where we are able to really get real-time alerts of every patient who is in ICU with a continuous monitoring. Can we get that? Then we can make a difference. That's a huge challenge. Now, the other issue, this is the big one. You need to think about it. I'm excited because I visited today afternoon our brain center, and what work we are doing is phenomenal. I think that can help us in the future of predictive healthcare in a big way. This is another thing I want you to think about it. Globally, there is a wastage that happens in healthcare industry to the tune of nearly $2 trillion. US alone. Okay? This is US alone. If you include the entire world, imagine the amount of wastage that happens. When I say wastage, it is because of wrong diagnosis. Someone goes wrong diagnosis, wrong treatment. Because of that, neither patient gets better, but you end up spending money. The wastage is huge. How do you eliminate this waste? This is where, accuracy comes into play, right? Accuracy. How do you detect a disease properly? And, when I'm talking about this wastage, there's something I want to tell you about a story. I lived in China. I lived in China for 3 years in Shanghai. And Shanghai, it was a great experience, okay? Some of you may be feeling sorry about me, right? Why did you live in China? But we had a great experience. It was a fantastic city and a great respect for Indians, believe me. A lot of people respect Indians a lot and they love Indians a lot. And they still remember Mera Juta Hai Japani and Awara Hoon movies. They are still very popular there. And there was one very interesting phenomena I saw. they have a concept called a family doctor, which we also have here, right? In India also we have a family doctor. Anytime you are not well, you call a family doctor, and he's the one who takes care of you. Because why? He knows history of you. He knows what works well for you, what doesn't work well for you. And based on that, he gives you a right treatment. In China, the same thing happens, but with a difference. The doctor there, a family doctor there in China, is given an annual fee. Okay? Every year, at the end of the year, they get a certain amount as a retaining fee. Let's say $1,000, okay, for the entire family. But there is a catch. The catch is, if anyone in the family falls ill, there's a deduction. Okay? If the second person falls ill, more deduction. Third time there's someone falling ill, more deduction. That means a doctor is incentivized to keep the family healthy, not sick. In our case, more sick, more earning, right? More time you go, it's based on number of visits. But there it is number of less visits. If you have 0 visits for treating any disease, you are getting more money. So the doctors are incentivized to keep the patients healthy. This is something I want all of you to keep in your mind, because this is what we are thinking about the future should be. Future should be about wellness management, not disease management. Because the moment you go into disease management, it's all about reactions, reactive behavior. Whereas the moment you talk about wellness management, it's about proactive management. And this is a big change, right? I talked about the population growth, I talked about medical staff shortage, and 2 things that are improving. Good news is the computing power and the information exchange, right? This has gone drastically. And you have seen in your own lifetime, right, a big change. I have seen, my starting point in this lifetime is little earlier than yours. I have seen in IIT Madras, card punching machines on which I worked and made a program of 2,200 lines and had punched 2,200 cards and fed them through IBM mainframe to compile that program. And later Siemens machines came and I worked on that as well. But today, our handheld devices are as powerful as those computers. Like, this is going to get better and better. And that's a great news for us. And I think this one we already talked about. This is where India's role will start coming in. We are not still great at hardware. I think this is something we need to improve upon. Because I think, for hardware, you also need to really bring in concept and thoughts about physics, chemistry. Those need to be really brought in for expertise level. But when it comes to digital, there's no one to beat us, right? Today, China gets called as the global factory. India gets called as the global IT hub, right? We have over 1,500 global capacity centers in India who deliver more than 50% of what world needs on the software side and digital side. Take the example. This was the CT scan that was done first time in 1974. And this is a CT scan done now. Can you imagine this? Seeing through. And this is why is it getting better is because of the computational abilities. Because of the new way of capturing the data that is coming through the sensors. And how do you interpret that and create that instantaneously to have this kind of an image which can give you more understanding of human health. Look at MRI, right? This is today's MRI, which can actually create the details of tactography. I was today spending time with our brain center, and they are slicing the brain to really get to the molecular or a cellular level. And that's going to take peta level of data, right? 3 to 5 peta. And imagine MRIs giving this kind of a data today, which is unbelievable. Now, during COVID, we were able to really identify, not just identify, also understand based on the blood reports, who could be more risky to have severity, which can really lead to possible death. And this could be done because of the data management. And this is why we are looking at, I think globally, most of the companies are thinking about it, is something called as twinning, patient twinning. How many of you understand the concept of twinning? Probably this is something must be there as a part of the curriculum as well. How many of you understand twinning? No? All right. You have seen the Bollywood movies where twins are there. And what gets shown in twins is when you pinch one brother, the other brother gets the pain, right? That's how twins are kind of, explained that, hey, he feels the pain of the other twin. Now, twinning is becoming more and more relevant. I think the first, I was a part of GE. And during that time, this twinning started with aviation engines. And aviation engines, every engine that used to fly, and the ability of the prediction of engine being healthy when it lands for its next flight. How sure can you be? And this is what engineers wanted to really figure out. And today, probably all of you, I don't know how many of you know, the safest mode of travel is still aviation globally. It's not a car, it's not a train, it is aeroplane, which is safest. And what engineers did was, they found a way to really transmit real-time data and create analytics. They created models which could actually mimic behavior of real engine. It was not about what's happening, it's about what is likely to happen. Predicting a fatigue failure, predicting how likely the temperature could go up. And based on that, they could mimic what is likely to happen to the engine in next maybe 3 months or 3 hours or 5 hours later. And that became a basis for creating a lot more twins. And today, you take a power plant, you take anything, even a hospital system is twinned. To look at, the patient population that is coming in, how does it behave? What is likely to be the failure modes? And what is likely to be the timing of that failure, and how do you really take corrective action? Now, extend that idea to a patient, okay? Think about it as me having my own twin on a digital side, and can that help me manage my health better, okay? So keep that thought in mind. And AI, probably you talk a lot more than anybody else talks about AI, correct? I think in healthcare is no different, but healthcare is a little slow in adopting AI because we deal with human health. It's not that we don't have solutions. We have, in fact, Siemens has more than 85 AI algorithms that have been launched. But these are not allowed to be used to make a decision. They are allowed to be used to validate a decision. Because you still need a human decision for making any diagnosis on a patient. But times will change. Things will change. For example, TB we talked about. TB, they have allowed it. World Health Organization has said, use AI to predict if a person has TB. And people are using it today. And in fact, there's a very interesting thing. I don't know how many of you know. There are 2 startups in India who came up with 2 AI algorithms which can use sound of cough to detect if a patient has TB. Using the frequency of the cough, one could say, hey, he's likely to have, it's not diagnosis, but it's screening. Okay? But that is the power of AI today. And this is why we believe this is going to be a big change. And this is why I believe India's role will become even more powerful. Think about all that input that needs to go. Physiological, genomics, wearables, lab, ultrasound, mammo, MRI, all this data, there are a lot of data that is getting generated. My watch is continuously generating so much data, right? It knows what's happening to me. There was a very interesting time during COVID. I got COVID. And when I got detected with COVID, I decided to sleep in a separate room. And I took my daughter's room. My daughter lives in Germany. So I took my daughter's room because I didn't want my wife or my mother to get infected. So I was sleeping in that room. And in the night I woke up. I had to go to bathroom. I didn't realize I was in my daughter's room. And I just closed my eyes and moved. And I stumbled upon a stool and fell down. And immediately my watch said, did you fall down? Shall I call help? I was, I fell, I was in kind of a little bit of a pain, but I was ecstatic. Wow, I said technology works. Technology works, and this is brilliant that these algorithms can detect a fall, right? And this data is captured. Now the rings that have come, health rings, the devices that can be worn, which can really provide continuous data, all this can really help us really capture continuous data. Now think about aviation engine, right? We are capturing the data, we were doing analytics on how it is behaving, and we are able to predict what is likely to happen. Now, can that be done for human body? Yes and no. Yes, theoretically. No, because it is more challenging. Can we do it tomorrow? Probably no. Can we do it maybe in 5 years? Maybe yes, because things are going to change very fast. Believe me, the first time we talked about AI was in 1989 when I was here. There was Professor Mahabala. He used to take classes on expert systems and artificial intelligence. And it used to be very thought-provoking and futuristic thought process about what could AI do in the world. And we're excited. And for AI to really take a deep root and make this happen took many, many more years. But now, how this is changing from the time it got first adopted to the time now everything, like, the autonomous cars to, automatic detection of diseases, to anything that you want to do, AI is playing a role. Even if algorithms are being created by AI, correct? So the transformation has been phenomenal. And this transformation using genomics about 20 years back, you could never imagine you can really do the gene sequencing at a lower rate that today we can do. And with all that data, we will be able to really bring in a predictive prognosis about human health. And that is a big change. Now today, we have created a model of heart in Siemens Healthineers. For just to give you a kind of understanding how much of data we have used to create all these kind of AI algorithms. We have nearly 2.2 billion patient data points. 2.2 billion. And we have 34 petaflop supercomputer, which helps in doing algorithms every hour. Over 1,400 algorithms are tested to really bring in understanding of what can happen, what could change. And we have created a digital twin of heart, which can mimic for a therapy when you are trying to do a certain therapeutic process on a patient, and you can do it on the twin and then do it on the patient. We are not using it for patient monitoring yet for a patient, but this is being used by clinicians to do the separate assessment on a twin before doing it on a real patient. So you try different methods, and then what method works better on the twin, repeat it on a real patient. You know, we do the similar thing even for a surgical process, but this is the next level. And this is what is exciting for us to really build the next level of twin. And generative AI is going to really bring in, but I think generative AI has its own limitations when it comes to healthcare, because you can't use a generic data. You know, it's crap in, crap out. So you need to make decisions based on right data. If you don't have right data, you can't make a right decision. How many of you heard of this National Digital Health Mission? Yeah, heard of it? For those of you who do not know about National Digital Health Mission, the government of India has really taken up this task of creating unique health ID through which a patient data can be verticalized. This is very important. Imagine, you know, I was talking about family doctor. He is great because he knows history. Now, patient data verticalization makes every clinician who sees you as a patient will be able to see the data from your start point to the present time. And that is going to be a differentiator. Now, imagine if we are able to really bring in an algorithm to really create insights about his health based on the vertical data, then it can be even better. And that is what is exciting about this. And secondly, now this is about vertical data of patient, now horizontal data about diseases. We talked about cancer, we talked about cardiovascular diseases, neurovascular diseases. If you get complete data about all these diseases and how it behaves on a certain race, certain gender, certain age group, then you will be able to make a better decision. Now, not every country has this possibility. India could make a big change, big difference in financial sector. Today, none of you know how to go to bank and how to withdraw money, right? Does anyone know how to withdraw money? No. Even I have forgotten it. I don't know how to fill in a form there in the bank because everything is on mobile today. It happened so quickly, right? Now imagine the same thing while you are carrying your mobile phone as your healthcare data, which can be scanned or which can be authorizing someone else for a short duration of time to use that data, add data, analyze data, and provide you a great feedback to make every average clinician to become a good clinician can be in the hands of technologists who, working with clinicians, can create great insights. You know, I call it as, can you look at creating a transformative algorithm that when it uses the data can bring you insights to any doctor who is seeing you. And that's going to happen. And this is why I'm excited about India's future. And I wanted to show that video.
In the decades ahead, healthcare will undergo dramatic transformations. Medicine will become more precise. Value will shape care delivery. Patients will become empowered consumers. And digitalization will transform every facet of healthcare. Patients will have a digital twin, a customized computational model of themselves, enabling Dr. Clive to anticipate illness, guide therapy options, and predict outcomes of procedures. Expanding precision medicine will enable radiologists to make highly specific diagnoses for Stephen without unwarranted variations. AI-powered decision models, fed by vast population health data, will improve diagnostic accuracy. Healthcare will become anticipatory, organized around Paula's medical conditions, and available around the clock, transforming care delivery. Multidisciplinary, highly productive care teams structured around patients and their needs will collaboratively deliver the full cycle of care. All interactions with John will become convenient, personalized, and compassionate, improving patient experience. Supported by real-time monitoring and guidance, John will become more empowered and have physical and virtual access to care when and where he needs it. At Siemens Healthineers, our mission is clear. We pioneer breakthroughs in healthcare for everyone, everywhere.
World's technologies on healthcare are in India. Most of them are in Bangalore. And they are the ones who are actually making a huge difference. And I get excited coming here and talking to the team in IIT because I strongly believe here we have a team or here we have a talent who can think laterally, who can think without fear of failure, who can think about possibilities which no one ever thought. Because I remember during my time, all my friends who were with me were so smart, and I used to be absolutely thrilled to really listen to their thought process, how they used to think. And to me, every time I come here is a time for me to realize what could happen through India for the world, not just India. And India is going to become the leading technology creator for healthcare. Today, India is third largest the startup creator worldwide. And nearly 15 to 17% of the startups are in healthcare field. But not many of them are in clinical plus technology domain. And this is where I think IIT can play a role. I'm convinced based on my visit today to the Brain Center, and I have worked with Dr. Mohan in the past. For last 8 years, I've been working with him in creating possible solutions on healthcare. And I know there are many more possibilities from here. And today, it was an opportunity for me to really convey my thoughts and my excitement of having more people from here joining the journey to create a big impact on making the world manage wellness rather than manage disease. And probably in maybe next 20 years' time, we will be managing our wellness, and this team will be at a leadership level in driving those changes. So thank you. And if there are any questions, I'll be happy to take them.
We want to do things very quickly. We want to build our companies as soon as we get out of the college. Most of us don't like to study more and more. But when we look at the industries like healthcare, medical industry, or defense, wherever our country is currently lagging behind, it needs a lot of in-depth knowledge of the field to come out with innovative solutions. So what's your advice for us on that?
Look, I think the quick wins can, it's like you need to think about it in a way as a sprint versus marathon, right? Sprints are quick, 100 meters, but after 100 meters, you lose steam, right? You can't run, you'll be panting for breath. But marathons are long. But you build energy and you make that happen. So every industry, we all like to really see win quickly, right? But for seeing a long-term impact for your own, you need to really pace your growth. You need to look at seeing this as not just one person's impact on the industry. It is a collaborative impact of that person plus many other disciplines and other people. Only then, I think it can work. Believe me, as a technologist, I always, when I entered industry, I always felt that things should happen so quickly. And I used to think that I'm the smartest, I'm the one who knows this technology, and why are other people not doing it? Then I realized over time that it is a collaboration. It is the other disciplines who bring in. And healthcare is all about purpose driven. And you need to really find your purpose. And there's one sentence which always makes me feel great about healthcare is, it is creating impact on people in moments that matter. When do you remember someone who helped you? Is when you were in the most difficult position. If someone comes and just gives you a hug or a touch to support you, you will remember him forever. And healthcare is that. When you are doing very well, someone comes and gives you a nice breakfast in 5-star hotel, you will not remember it. But when you are hungry, someone gives you a small piece of cake or something to eat, you remember it forever. So healthcare is that industry where you create impact on people when it matters the most. So you need to find a purpose.
Hello, sir. So I had a question. So since the majority of the tertiary care in the country is located in the major cities, so suppose a person who is emerging from a rural background, he wishes to go, so his first point of contact would definitely be a primary health center. And the main issue in these primary health centers is that there's a lot of patient loads. So in our effort in our NDHM, the National Health Mission, it is the government is trying to digitalize the medical records, and due to heavy patient loads, the doctor are not being able to do it at the primary healthcare level. So since a majority of the countries, the first point of contact is these primary, so how exactly do we solve this issue of data at the most grassroots level?
It's a great question. I think, this is why government is trying to do NDHM, where people with less amount of knowledge can bring in digital as well as a telemedicine. I think telemedicine is playing already a big role. I think during COVID, it actually moved up by 3 or 4 times the pre-COVID, which was not earlier acceptable to different legal issues. Today, it has gone. And telemedicine, including the bringing in the insights with the digital health, is something that is going to really change the effectiveness of primary care hospitals. Government is also trying to look at how do they equip all these hospitals with better facilities, because it's not going to be enough to have data, but to have data, you need to have right equipment, right? Today we are still less than 2% GDP spend on healthcare. And a great countries, US and all spend more than 8%. We are far, far below in terms of our spend on healthcare. This is something that government, I'm hoping, they will do. While our spend has gone up, percentage of GDP spend is still lower. With the increase in spend, I had a few discussions with Ministry of Health and a few other people. They are definitely very keen. I was telling you one thing about TB, right? Yeah. They're planning to really bring in the mass screening of people using ultra-portable X-rays by getting ASHA workers to go to village by village and screen people, or with people going on a small motorcycle carrying all these ultra-portable devices and doing that. So that is a change, right? This is how you need to bring health change, health equity to everyone. So it's going to take time, but I think this is a public-private partnership also. Large companies like Siemens, NGOs like PATH, FIND, they collaborate. United Nations bring in so much funding. You won't believe the amount of funding that comes in, with the government chipping in their money as well. So with that, it's going to change. But this is where I think as citizens, we need to also continue to push the boundaries. Yeah. Okay.
Hi, sir. I'm Sagar. I actually have 2 questions. The first is, you mentioned that Siemens is planning to increase the number of equipments available throughout the country. But you also mentioned that there's a lack of experts who can actually provide reports on the basis of the scans. So how are you planning to bridge that gap? And the second question I have is, you mentioned having digital twins of individuals. So that will actually account for a lot more computation than the current systems can have. So how will you ensure that doesn't add to the current energy crisis already ongoing across the globe?
That's a great point. Okay, the first question, how are we trying to really bring in that skill gap, right? I think this is something that we took it as one of the growth vectors as digitally enabled services, building digitally enabled services where we are bringing AI to really aid a report creation before somebody validates it. We call it as radiology as service. To give you an example, UK, we are trying to work with them already, where UK creates, as soon as a scan is done, there's a backend which actually AI creates a report. And there's a radiologist who just goes through the report, and he will probably, if he was spending X amount of time, he will be spending 1/10 of that time to look at that. So you are trying to increase the productivity of all these radiologists by maybe 100% or 200 or 10 times. So technology-enabled services will really play a role. AI will play a role. AI's acceptability will start really increasing, because that is the only way you can do that, because we don't have enough people being trained today. And number of people who are getting sick is also increasing. So the only way is technology. That's why India will have huge opportunity. If anyone wants to start a startup tomorrow, you will definitely find buyers. There's a startup in India called Cure.ai. In 2016, they started. Today, they are one of the leading AI creators on all the disease management. So there's a huge opportunity. And that is being accepted today by various governing bodies, regulatory bodies, which were not being accepted before COVID. COVID changed the way people started looking at these things. COVID, you won't believe it, how everyone got approval to start using AI to detect if someone has COVID or not. I was in the middle of, I'll give you an example of how crazy it was. I was part of GE Healthcare at that time, and we were all locked down, right? Lockdown happened, and we were, since healthcare industry, we were allowed to go to office, because we were the ones who were supposed to really create ventilators, AI solutions and all that, remote management of patients. And we got permission from police, and our engineers were sleeping in offices. They were sleeping in the offices. They will work whole day, sleep in the office. Morning again, whatever time they wake up, they will start working on it. And I was one day walking in the lab there, and I asked one person who was trying to create some prototype of a device. And I asked him one question, hey, what are you trying to do here? He gave me one answer which made me get goosebumps. He said, sir, I'm trying to save lives. He didn't say anything about technology. He didn't say anything about, this is a prototype I'm trying to do. He said, I'm trying to save lives. And he had the glitter in his eyes. And for me that day, you were asking me, right? That is the purpose I found. I said, I'm in an industry where this engineer of mine says that I'm saving lives. And I said, I'm in the right place. And that exactly is what changes, right? So technology can create that difference. And your second question was, it is going to be a challenge, right? I think in terms of energy crisis that we are seeing, green energy, sustainability. Now, if everyone is going to have a model, and how much of computational power it is going to take. But believe me, we technologists are going to be even smarter. We'll come up with models which will only start looking at the variants, not at, like complete base, right? The variants that are going to be different from each, And we will come up with different models. And this is a huge challenge today on a sustainability level. I think AI is putting a lot more pressure on the green energy. But I'm confident that we will come up with new solutions. But presently it is true. If we do that, it's going to put a lot more pressure. Yeah. Yeah.
Hello, sir. My question is on, like, before coming to healthcare, you were in different fields, right?
Yeah.
So how did you transition from one field to another, and finally, what made you to stay in this field?
Well, I think there's something I call it as the fundamental laws of engineering are same, right? The applications differ. The purpose, the customer, the way impact is created is slightly different, but the fundamental engineering facts remain the same. And for you to make a shift, I think one of the first things that you need to accept is you are going to be a student again. Every time you change your role or a job, the first thing that you need to really remember is you are going to be a student. You're going to learn from youngest person in the team to oldest person in the team. From everyone you will be learning. And that acceptability has to come. And you can't go in there and say that I know everything and I can manage all of you. But you go with an open mind to start learning. And that's when you will start picking up. And for me, I think whenever I have changed from engineering to business to product management to healthcare to energy to power, I think that has been the thing that I have learned a ton from people. And that has also made me realize that you can never ever say that I know everything. You will only keep learning. And every time I come to IIT, believe me, I get humbled. I get humbled. And I start feeling that I should join this institute again to learn something more. Because this is that kind of an institute where you meet any person, he has done something or he's doing something. And you never ever feel that, wow, I have done so many things. If you have any ego, come here and you will be going egoless. Right? It's like someone says, right, after doing some sins, you go to Ganga, take a dip. And for me, coming here, just spending some time here is like taking a dip in Ganga. Yeah.
Hi, over here.
Yeah.
So you said that we're gonna make a digital twin of every man on this planet. That also tells you that the government or the corporation knows about the vulnerabilities that the person could have, or the person in a certain region could have. That can also be taken advantage of in the future. For example, like you change some characteristic to sell them some more pills and all that stuff. How are we going to make sure that that doesn't happen?
It's a great, this is a fantastic question. It's something I call it as security of data, privacy of data. This is what is the most bothering thing in the industry today about healthcare industry. Anyone. In India, it is not so. Like India, everyone tells everyone about what is happening to them. But you go to Europe, they're so private. If someone is ill, they'll not talk about it. In India, we talk to everyone. Hey, come. I have this, that. I went to that doctor. And in fact, doctor himself will be talking to the patient and 10 more patients will be listening to him because there's no privacy, right? But this is very, very important point you raised. And this is today being deliberated with a lot of new laws, regulations that are being created. HIPAA, in Europe, this is a very, very strong thing. Like you can't let any data out which has anybody's name in it. It has to be anonymized. So India is following the suit. And this will continue to be a challenge because healthcare data is the most important data for anybody's point of view. And these laws will be governing, and these are going to be more and more strict. That's why even working on AI is becoming even more challenging because you can't just get the data. 20 years back, you could go get all the images in a hospital and take it home and do whatever you want. But today you can't. But yeah, great point, and a lot of deliberations on that.
I would like to request Mr. Kaviraj Nair, CEO of the Institutional Advancement Office, to kindly present a memento to our esteemed speaker. Thank you so much, sir, for that inspiring and insightful talk. It is clear that India's role in the future of healthcare is pivotal, and the innovations being developed are truly transforming lives across the globe. Your experiences and vision have provided us with a fresh perspective on how digital healthcare can solve some of the world's most pressing challenges. On behalf of the Office of Alumni and Corporate Relations, we extend our heartfelt thanks to you and for your time and invaluable insights.